Have you ever wondered if anger can ever be justified? It's a question that resonates deep within us, a query that echoes in the chambers of our minds and hearts. Anger is a complex emotion we all experience, but is it ever warranted? Is there a line where anger transforms from destructive chaos into a necessary catalyst for change? In this vast emotional landscape, anger often gets a bad rap. It's seen as a destructive force, a wildfire that raises reason and rationality. But can it also be a beacon of justice, a clarion call for change? Could it be that anger, when justified, serves a purpose beyond the personal, extending into the societal and even the philosophical? These are the facets of anger we'll be delving into. We'll be navigating the turbulent waters of this emotion, venturing into its depths, and uncovering its many faces. Today, we'll explore this question through real-life case studies and philosophical perspectives. Consider this: you've been wronged personally. Someone has deliberately hurt you. Would your anger be justified then? Let's delve into the story of Jane Doe, a woman who, for the sake of our discussion, was wronged personally. Jane was a hard-working and dedicated employee at a well-established company. She toiled away, working late nights and early mornings, all in the hope of earning a promotion. But one day, she found out that a less experienced, less qualified colleague was promoted instead of her. The kicker? Jane discovered that this colleague had been spreading false rumors about her performance and capabilities, intentionally sabotaging her chances at advancement. Jane was furious, and rightly so. Her hard work and dedication had been overshadowed by lies and deceit. She felt betrayed, not only by her colleague but also by her employer, who failed to recognize her efforts and instead succumbed to baseless gossip. Now let's take a moment to analyze Jane's anger. It was born out of a sense of injustice, a feeling of being wronged. She had been deliberately hurt by the actions of her colleague, and her trust in her employer was shattered. Her anger was a natural emotional response to these events. In this context, can we say that Jane's anger was unjustified? Can we tell her that she should have kept her calm and not let the actions of others affect her? Well, when we put it that way, it seems rather unjust to dismiss Jane's anger as unwarranted. Her anger was a reaction to an unfair situation, a personal betrayal that had real consequences for her career and self-esteem. It was a signal of her hurt, her disappointment, and her need for justice. So in this case, one could argue that the anger was justified. But let's explore another scenario. Now think about this. You witness a grave injustice happening in society. You feel angry. Is this anger justified? Imagine a hypothetical situation. There's a community living on the outskirts of a bustling city. For decades, they've been deprived of basic needs: clean water, education, healthcare. The government, instead of providing these necessities, diverts resources to more affluent areas. The community's pleas fall on deaf ears, their protests ignored, their voices silenced. The citizens, marginalized and forgotten, grow increasingly angry. This anger, simmering under the surface, finally erupts. The community organizes a peaceful protest, marching through the city, demanding their rights. Their anger, palpable and raw, resonates with others. The city, the country, the world watches. This anger sparks debates, discussions, and dialogues. It pushes the plight of the community into the limelight, forcing authorities to take notice. Now let's dissect this anger. Is it justified? On the surface, it seems so. The community has been wronged, their basic rights trampled upon. Their anger, in this case, isn't merely an emotional reaction. It's a cry for justice, a demand for change. But let's delve deeper. What are the societal implications of this anger? It disrupts the status quo, challenges authority, and shakes the power structures. It brings attention to the glaring disparities, highlighting the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. It triggers a societal introspection, a reevaluation of values and principles. This anger, then, could be seen as a catalyst for change. It instigates action, compels authorities to address the situation, and prompts society to strive for equality and justice. It fuels movements, inspires revolutions, and births new social orders. Yet it's essential to remember that anger in itself is not a solution. It's a response, an indicator of a deeper issue. It's a tool that, if wielded wisely, can instigate positive change. But if left unchecked, it can also lead to chaos and destruction. In this scenario, anger could be seen as a driving force for change, but is this always the case? We've looked at two different scenarios where anger might be justified, but it's important to remember that anger is a complex emotion. In our exploration, we've delved into the realms of personal and social injustice, and how they can trigger the emotion of anger. We've seen how personal injustices, such as betrayal or deception, can lead to feelings of anger. This anger, if channeled correctly, can serve as a catalyst for change and growth. It can help us set boundaries and protect our self-esteem. On the other hand, we've also examined the role of anger in the face of social injustices. When we witness or experience unfair treatment, discrimination, or inequality, anger can act as a powerful motivator. It can propel us to take action, to challenge the status quo, and to fight for justice and equality. Yet it's crucial to understand that anger, while potentially transformative, can also be destructive. Unchecked or misdirected anger can lead to harm, conflict, and regret. It can damage relationships, disrupt communities, and even incite violence. That's why it's essential to manage our anger effectively and to channel it towards positive change. Throughout history, philosophers have grappled with the question of when anger is justified. Some argue that anger is always destructive and should be avoided. Others contend that anger can be a righteous response to injustice, as long as it is controlled and directed towards a constructive purpose. But the complexity of anger goes beyond these philosophical debates. It's intertwined with our personal experiences, our values, and our perspectives. It's influenced by our cultural backgrounds, our societal norms, and our individual temperaments. It's shaped by the circumstances we find ourselves in, the injustices we witness or experience, and the potential outcomes of our actions. So, when is anger justified? The answer isn't straightforward. It depends on the circumstances, the individual, and the potential outcomes. It's a question worth pondering over. Thank you for joining us in this exploration.